This is David Morgan of themorganreport.com. It is Wednesday, the 12th, and it is January 2022. And I'm going to make this video for the free email list. And those of you who have been on this list for a while have already heard this story, but there's many people joining, especially with the crypto conspiracy series that I've done here of recent. This is a highly speculative situation. The company's name is EnviroMetal. It's about as ESG as you could possibly get. The former name was EnviroLeach, and I am biased. And the reason I am biased is, first and foremost, I'm the only newsletter writer in the resource space that's given any real ink or mention of this company. And that's a little frustrating. Normally, if there's a big discovery of a mine, a deposit somewhere, all the newsletter guys jump on the story because no one wants to be called dumb for not seeing it. In this case, this is probably, in my opinion, the biggest disruptive technology of the mining sector since the cyanide situation started so many decades ago. This replaces cyanide, and it's environmentally friendly. In fact, it's inert. And what you use in a leaching process can be reused. Of course, there's a little bit that's used up every time, but the idea is really, really profound. So the site is EnviroMetal.com. Yes, I own shares. Talks about the mission, talks about how uniquely environmentally friendly this is. You can find out more on any of these tabs. I'm just going to show you a few of them, and the value proposition, of course. But I just spoke to the CEO who I've had a strong relationship with for a very long time. And from what he told me on the phone, I'm going to be doing an interview with him directly one-on-one, or I should say one-on-many, for our premium service, our paid membership, probably before the end of this week. But I wanted to make this available for all the free members to at least be aware of this company. I think it's at a price now that's lower than when it was first suggested as something to consider. Having said that, I want to just back up a bit and let people know that some of these really disruptive technologies take a lot longer than you would expect looking backwards. In other words, when Henry Ford started, it took a long time before he really got traction. The Wright brothers were considered kooks until finally it took traction. Even the cell phone industry, which I'm familiar with, and the CEO of this company is as well. You know, when we started out, I mean, lots of resistance. People would say, well, why would I want one of those things to carry around when there's a payphone on every corner? And besides that, I've got a pager. I'm high tech. I've got a pager on my belt. And now you probably can't go anywhere on the planet where people aren't addicted to this little screen that they're walking around with. Even when they're out on the sidewalk, they're looking at their screen. So obviously, if you're a little bit of a innovator or a visionary or a disruptive technology, again, they seem to take longer. But I do think after my conversation, and we'll be going into this in depth, again, probably before the end of this week for a premium service, a little bit of things have come together synergistically, which will finally be able to turn the corner on this company. So since you have interest in my work and what I do, and no one else in the newsletter industry that follows resources has really given much thought or ink or consideration to this company, I'm letting you know. There's about 50,000 people on this email. We get an open rate of one of the highest in the industry, which is only about 2 or 3%. So if you think that 50,000 people are going to call up their stockbroker and take an appropriate position in this company, think again. The internet's an interesting place to be, and the dynamics of it are not what most people consider. It's actually a tougher way to get communications out than most people think, especially if you're bombarded like I am in your email box all the time. Let me just press on to a couple more pertinent things, and I'll close out this short video. I'll just use a recent press release. This is the middle of December of last year, as you can see. And what you really want to look at over here on the right-hand side where my cursor is what the recoveries are. And you can see in a 4-hour time frame about 88%, 5.5 hour, 5.25 hour, about 90%. In a 24-hour time frame, the first test ran about a 96% recovery rate. If you know anything about heap leaching and what the recovery rates are, and you compare that to this number, you will just that alone would make you excited, but especially when it's environmentally friendly and especially with the ESG mandates across the board as far as being environmentally friendly for almost anything in the resource sector going forward. This press release from a time bit earlier shows a comparison with the EnviroMetal methodology versus the standard methodology. And if you see up here in this first table that the EnviroMetal technology, after a 6-hour time frame on this sample, brought back 99.6%, whereas the conventional method after 8 hours was only about 75%, let's say. After 24 hours was about 94%, and obviously 94% is a pretty good recovery, but it's not as good as 99.6%. So you got to think about two things. One is the time factor. Time is money. So if you're a big mining operation and you are pushing out a lot of product and you can do it every 6 hours instead of every 24 hours, you sped up your time by 400%. On top of that, the difference between 94% and 99% is 5%. But 5%, a lot of businesses love to have a 5% margin. That's basically a grocery store, and there's billionaires in the grocery business. So just want to point out that this, and again, the environment, that's the main thing overall because of the restrictions that are going to be imposed and are imposed. There's a lot of places that would like to continue mining using cyanide that are restricted from doing so. This formula saves that problem, or solves that problem, I should say. So I'll leave it there. This is David Morgan of themorganreport.com. This is a speculative investment. I own it. I've talked about it for years and years. I've frustrated a lot of my paid members. I don't mean to. But I want to assure everybody, both paid and non-paid, that the opportunity, as far as I can see, is still there. It's probably one of the most disruptive things to the mining sector since the use of cyanide, and it eliminates that. So have a look. Again, a speculation means just that. I wouldn't bet the farm on it, but there are people that will be seeing this probably in a different light than what we have up until this point in time.